Hello everyone and welcome back to IMO Reviews. Thanks to your vote, today we are discussing Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Directed by George Lucas and starring Ewan McGregor, Liam Neeson, Natalie Portman, Ian McDiarmid, Samuel L. Jackson, Ray Park, and many, many more. Starting with the positives, and a big one for me is that I think Ewan McGregor is fantastic as a young Obi Wan Kenobi. I also really like Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn, and I like their relationship, especially in the early scenes of the movie. McGregor is shown to be inquisitive, especially in those early scenes. He asks Qui-Gon quite a lot of questions, and it does feel like he still has the learner plates on, and that's cool to see that history of Obi-Wan's overall story. This next positive might seem a bit obvious, and it might even seem like a bit of a mixed bag, but I appreciate that they stuck to their traditions. You have to remember that this was a comeback. They hadn't been on the big screen for a long time. They could have really jazzed it up, really refreshed it, changed the game entirely and gone for something totally different. And with the CGI, they definitely did, but I still appreciate the fact that you get the John Williams score, you get the scroll at the beginning of the movie, you still get the swipes and the fades in the transition. These things are quintessential Star Wars. A little bit of badly aged CGI I can live with. I don't think I could have lived with Spice Girls doing the soundtrack. They modernised where they felt like they needed to, and I'm okay with that. I also enjoy how explorative this movie is. You get to go to Coruscant, there's Naboo, you get to see the Gungan city, which is bad CGI and green screen, but I like the design, I like the concept. You get to see some interesting sea monsters of the Star Wars universe. I think it's the first time we really get a deep dive or any taste of that at all in the franchise, and I appreciate it. It's only small details, but it does expand this universe and make it feel like there's a bit more than just Tatooine and just a Death Star. Speaking of Tatooine, I actually enjoy how much this movie explores Tatooine. You get to see the people, you get to see the culture, you even get the pod racing. I like that they give you a real taste of what life on Tatooine would be like, compared to some of the other movies who tend to go to Tatooine and just kick rocks while they're there. I think there's quite a solid amount of action in this movie, and it's fairly well paced. The first act of the movie is nicely paced, the third act of the movie is nicely paced. The middle is a bit of a slog, to be honest with you, but generally speaking they do balance it quite well between talking action. And of course I have to compliment Duel of the Fates. It might be the best lightsaber duel in the whole franchise. I mean, that score is just sensational. The whole score for the movie is sensational. John Williams, you've done it again, sir. And this positive feels like a good one to transition on, because Darth Maul does feel like a positive and a negative in itself. Positive because he looks really cool, he has an awesome name, and he has a wicked lightsaber. This guy is ticking all the boxes for a potentially awesome villain. And then he's insanely underutilised and killed off. What a waste. Thankfully, the animated series has managed to fix some of that, but I am quite surprised that Lucas didn't see the potential longevity in that character like everybody else immediately did. And let's dovetail into those negatives. And a big one for me is the dialogue. My God. So much of it is about boring boardroom stuff with taxes and legislation. It's a bit rough. It's not entirely unwatchable, but it's got no oomph. The lines are being read incredibly monotone, and it's very dull. There's no emotion. Nobody seems to be worried, frightened, angry. Everyone's just sitting around going, this is happening. That's not very good. We should do something about that. What do you suggest we do? Yeah, it doesn't make for the most interesting watch, does it? Everyone's just exceptionally stoic, and I get that that's probably part of the character and the lore, but it doesn't make it interesting to watch. The CGI was a big step forward at this time, and it was pretty convincing back in '99. In 2023, however, my God, does it look wobbly and janky and really, really obvious. How can you talk about The Phantom Menace without mentioning Jar Jar Binks? Good Lord. Ahmed Best, God bless him, but it must be said, this character is awful. Endlessly annoying and not fitting off the tone at all. His slapstick and poor CGI just constantly leaves you rolling your eyes rather than laughing. Even when he does do a good thing, it's only through sheer luck and stupidity. He has no growth, he has no arc, he has nothing about him that you can physically latch onto and enjoy as a character. And we also have to talk about Jake Lloyd, and again, you have to wonder, why they chose him to be Anakin. And I understand that Jake Lloyd has had a really tough life and he's really stepped away from all of this acting gig because of the flack that he received from this movie. And that's not cool. It isn't his fault by any means. He just shouldn't have been cast as the role of Anakin. They should have gone for somebody older. It just immediately makes his relationship with Padme feel weird when there's clearly about 5 or 6 years age difference between them. It ruins both characters because you look at Padme and can't understand why a princess fancies a 6-year-old boy, and it ruins Anakin because, well, the acting is horrible. Had you picked 2 actors of the same age, it actually could have worked. We could have felt a little bit of fluttering love beginning. And of course they aren't helped by the dialogue, but I don't like to use that excuse for them because you could say that about everybody in the movie. And yet it is still Padme and Anakin's scenes that stick out like a sore thumb. And my final complaint for the movie has to be midichlorians. Why? Just why? I don't get why we needed to overcomplicate something that we never asked to be explained. You've completely kneecapped yourself and you've shoved yourself into a corner where there's now so many questions that can be asked and you don't necessarily have an answer for it. Which overall leads me to believe that Star Wars: The Phantom Menace is a 6 out of 10. It's alright. It's nowhere near brilliant. It doesn't even remotely hold a torch to the original trilogy. And what I find most frustrating about it is I can see an awesome movie in there somewhere trying to get out. But if this movie deserves credit for anything, it has to be for Duel of the Fates. Thank you for watching this review. Please be sure to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and please do hit the comment section as well. Have you seen Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, if you haven't had enough of this crazy ginger, you can always click on these suggested videos right here and get yourself lost in an IMO wormhole. But if not, take care, and I look forward to seeing you on the next review.